Hunters. Doug's a Scotsman, and he tells me he hasn't got his kilt on now. But he's lived and worked in and from Johannesburg for about the last 30 years. Doug's currently manager professional services at CISPRO Africa. He leads the team that delivers, innovates, and grows CISPRO support, consulting, and educational services in the ecosystem. He's a professional in operations and in the IT industry for over 30 years, and rather than a technical expert, Douglas helps match companies' business needs with relevant business software solutions for many years. He's passionate about helping African organizations deliver value that put us all on the global map. So Doug's talk today is intelligence, not so artificial, is becoming essential. So, Doug, over to you.
Thanks. I hope you can see me. Thanks, Ken. Nice to see all of you again. I'm just going to bash on because we don't have a lot of time. Nice introduction. I'll probably repeat some of it. What are we going to cover? So we're going to cover a few basics about many things, actually. And AI, artificial, sought after business benefits, you know, the next silver bullet, is it, isn't it? Is it already being used, isn't it? First steps, getting into artificial intelligence, and it really has to go along with machine learning, which we'll talk about, to give you supportive insights. Second phase, getting more value in business options, or best options, and probable future reliable decisions without humans. God help us. But anyway. And then a closing and chat. Hopefully you'll ask me some questions. So you've just told them who I am, but I'll race through it. So I was a president once, not like Trump. You know, he's going out. I went out a lot before him. I come from Glasgow. I am an African because I hold a South African passport and I've been here a long time. I'm a traveller and cyclist, and I fell off my mountain bike on Northcliffe Hill yesterday, but didn't break any bones nor the bike. I'm a thinker. I also talk about too much, and I do quite a bit of writing, private and public. And I'm a malt whiskey drinker, and I haven't had any today. And I don't do it when I'm mountain biking either. But what gives me the right to talk? Well, I got the microphone. I do listen. People know me for talking, but I do listen, and I learn from people. I enjoy that. I listen and I learn from businesses, especially that. And especially later in my career, I'm finding that some of the experience, but not all of it, is quite useful and lets you discover new innovations rather than just repeating the past. I've made many mistakes. That's a great way to learn. I think some of them I have probably made them more than once. I've helped fix many problems in a collaborative way. I fix cars and mountain bikes individually. But when you're fixing businesses, you can't really fix it on your own. People have to fix their own businesses. You just kind of help them. It's a bit like being a surgeon in open heart surgery, putting IT into companies, but you're not a surgeon. So you've got to persuade the people in the room to do the open heart surgery. I don't think we'll try it in medical yet, but it works in IT. I love manufacturing, and any excuse to go and see a manufacturing company and walk around it, I'll do, and supply chain, because the two go hand in hand. And I believe engineers just get it. My wife wasn't very impressed when she was pregnant, and I told her, you don't need to explain what's happening. I'm a mechanical engineer. I know what's going on inside your body. But engineers do just get processes. We're a bit anally retentive sometimes, but I think a lot of engineers understand business really well. I've got grey hair, but a young heart, hence I fall off my mountain bike, and I share experiences that I hope. So that's kind of why I think I should be talking. Some basic thoughts. That was a picture I pulled off the internet because it's fairly basic. So ponder with an open mind for a minute. So you might want to close your eyes. So if you were to close your eyes and count to 10, so just do that. 1, 2. So you get to 10. 10 seconds, a bit longer maybe. Very easy. Now keep them closed and count to 51,238. You know, there's no point because that's going to take you till tomorrow at least. What's the point of that? Well, some things are easy to do and understand, and other things, yeah, you can understand that number, but it's big. There's a lot of it, and it consumes time to count to 51,238. What if the number's infinity? So, well, there's a couple of things there. Well, what is infinity? So you've probably done this when you were younger, or if you're young, you might still do it. After your third beer, gin and tonic or whatever, you start debating what is infinity. Now it's a big number, sure. Well, what is the number? So you give a big number. Well, what's the next number? Well, it's infinity plus one. Well, no, it's infinity. And it's the same as what's at the end of the universe, something that used to drive me mad as an engineer at Glasgow University, because our orbital mechanics guy who was teaching us how to fire rockets to go past all the planets in the solar system, well, in our solar system, he said, well, at the end of the universe, there's nothing. And we said, well, what's nothing? And he said, well, it's nothing. And, you know, the debates we had about that, because engineers are a bit like that. Well, what is at the end of the universe? If it's nothing, it's something. Why can't I understand it? So it's kind of that religious dimension where there's a knowledge that you don't really understand yourself as a human. What is it? So that's what I call the religious dimension. And the probability of one bag of Lay's chips, you know, that Italian flavor they've got in 38,000 forecourt retail stores. Yeah, it's really nice to know that, you know, in Burra-Poopsfontein in South America, 1,500 kilometers from the end of Tierra del Fuego, there's a forecourt where it's the most profitable place in the world to sell a Lay's packet of chips. Who cares except that forecourt, maybe? So relevance of information, intelligence, etc., is really important. And then understanding the reason for outcomes, because what artificial intelligence is going to do, like any intelligence, it uses experience to make decisions. And, you know, is your experience relevant? So if you know, like, look at the recent American election. I mean, obviously Trump's on a different substance to us, but whether you like him or you don't, he's changed quite a lot. What he's really changed, he's putting tremendous doubt on the outcome of that election. I mean, nobody believes him, even if his own people don't believe him, but there's quite a lot of people still believe him. I've still got money on him just in case he's right. But, you know, if you know why the outcome happened, then you can use it to your advantage. Now, typically that would be for competitive advantage in our environment, but you can use it to your advantage. So that's the political dimension. And that's what you need to think about when you think of this science. There's a couple of books I was showing earlier, and they're really boring, but they open your mind. So that's why I started with that. So being an engineer, I put a formula there for you, which is AI fueled by machine learning, fed by Internet of Things, robots or bots, enterprise resource planning, supply chain management. That gives you answers. Great. Well, we always did that because, you know, it was us fed by our experience with probably a few RFID tags, no bots. So we all had ERP systems, and some of us were getting into the more sophisticated supply chain optimization, and we got answers. So the more we did and the more IT we used, typically, the bigger the range of answers we got, and people would argue that, well, if it's optimization, it must be right. So if you look at, well, what is the difference between human and artificial intelligence? So humans, and I don't just say, you know, I could be very sexist here and say that males are logical and women aren't. That's absolute nonsense. Males are just as illogical as anybody else, and there's just as many logical women. So it's not a sexist thing. We're all, you can see it further down, we're all influenced by our emotion or our opinions or whatever. So we're influenced by experience, and that sometimes makes us more illogical than you would think. Sometimes that's a good thing, though. And we're constrained by knowledge. So what we know, and you might see that, especially in the industry I'm currently in, which is applying IT to companies, you get the wrong guys applying IT. They apply what they did last time, not what you need. So, you know, they're constrained by their last experience. Or consultants, and typical, they used to say, my favorite one, and I apologize to the sensitive, but my favorite one is a consultant is a man who knows 103 ways to make love, but he doesn't know any women or men these days, so just in case. So it's kind of the same thing. You're constrained. We also used to say consultants were usually one chapter ahead of the latest book that's been released, so that they're slightly ahead. So human intelligence is often constrained by a lack of knowledge, really, or a lack of adequate and broad enough knowledge. And we are really unable to unlearn. I know that as I get older, there are some things that I still hang on to that are so ridiculous, have been proved by every experience of my life that I should stop thinking that way, but I still think that way. So unlearning is something humans are very bad at. We can forget, but that's not the same as unlearning. Unlearning is getting rid of a strong belief and accepting it's wrong. And knowledge with humans depreciates in breadth and value. So often we, as we get older, we remember our kids or our grandkids or whatever they are. And, the new stuff is, that's kind of new for us. So how relevant is it? But when you go to artificial intelligence, well, it's always logical. There's no sort of illogical stuff there, unless the algorithms, which are written by humans, incidentally, are illogical. But typically, artificial intelligence takes facts and does things with it. It's influenced by experience, and that's where the machine learning comes in. So, you write algorithms into your software or whatever environment of life you're in, but typically it's got some software to help you do the job, buying groceries, running your factory, sorting your warehouse, getting your transport optimized, whatever it might be. You can apply artificial intelligence to that stuff because it's going to be logical. And as it gets it wrong, it says, well, that didn't work. And it remembers it didn't get it wrong. It says, okay, forget that one. And it uses more and more. So over time, you can't have artificial intelligence without machine learning, okay? So machine learning is where its experience comes from, and it learns from that. Again, dependent on the way that the algorithms are written. It uses data, it uses trends, and it's very algorithmic. So it looks at data, and it can look at a lot of it a lot quicker than we can count to 51,238 or whatever the number was. It is constrained by data, not by knowledge. So if you don't have much data, it's not going to give you a really particularly exciting answer, but it really comes into its own where you've got a huge amount of data. It constantly relearns, which sort of pushes unlearning to the back because it's probability based. So it looks at, well, what's not a probable outcome and stuff like that. And it says, well, that never worked in the past. Even if the probability says it's like forecast accuracy. If you think you're 99% accurate, but next month it's wrong, and the next month it's wrong, then probably something's wrong. So you might change it. But it knows to forget the irrelevant. And depending again on the algorithms, but so you've got some very clever people writing these algorithms, but it's constantly relearning, and value increases as a result. So instead of your knowledge depreciating, so before you retire, all us grey-haired people, please interview us. We've always said this to get what little experience is left that is useful, because, it might jumpstart your journey down artificial intelligence. And it is full of inference and prediction. So we're going to talk more about that. Whereas humans, we infer and predict, but probably based on some horrible background information. This is really the business benefit. So we've started over the years going through things like, business strategy works. You have to have strategies, and obviously AI is coming into strategy now. So in the very early days of sort of Conan the Barbarian, people realized that if you get your revenue higher than cost, you make a profit, and you can do something else, like grow your business, or if you're in government, buy another Ferrari, or if the Guptas, buy another country, I guess. Compete on focus, the competitors of nations, compete on focused, or you're low cost, so that if you're the cheapest, people will buy it, commodities, or differentiate your product. So we've been through that for decades now. And then we got the same source. You got the product, the Boston Consulting Group, I've got stars, dogs, cash cows, and question marks. That still works. We've loads of, how many brands? I can think of a couple at the moment that just come to mind. Marmite, cornflakes. Yeah, cornflakes might be used by a number of companies now, but some of these brands have been around for, I would think, nearly 100 years these days. Those are really cash cows. They don't change, but they're forever bringing out new cereals, but there are other cereals and sauces and things that brands you can think of that just keep going. And the idea is that you milk the cash cow, obviously. Some cows last longer than others, though. First mover advantage was the next one. Not sure who came with that, but they used to say that you get 12% revenue lead in the first, whatever it is, 3 months or a year by getting to market first. So now you can see speed and time-based competition started coming in. Then folk decided, do we centralize or do we centralize or do we decentralize? Well, it depends. I'm not going to go into that now, but you'll see that some companies like the Bidvest Group are federated. So, yeah, sure, they've got central finance, but basically every company can do it at once within certain guideline rules, like they can use certain IT, they can do certain things. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if I'm being hounded on WhatsApp there. Resilience, Gary Hamel, good guy, came out to speak here. Adapt or die, and then he came out with radical innovation. So change the market. Instead of adapting to the market, change the market. So then we get, and now, the whole point of this slide was, be on top of your data. Now that sounds really mundane, but really that's what AI, if you're not on top of your data, in fact, if you've got an ERP system and you're not on top of your data, it's not going to help you either. You need to adapt fast, but you need to adapt really fast to changing market drivers and hit opportunities before other people. And that's really part of what AI is about, is really enabling you to make decisions really quick, reliable, relevant decisions really quickly. So a long way to get to that point. But so we now talk about AI. So AI, this is like 3 books in one. But anyway, you probably know all this stuff, but I think it's good to give a background, because what I'm going to tell you, I don't think is as earth-shattering as people think. Because this is an IT thing. It's about how you apply it. It's not necessarily just the technology itself. So you've got robotics. It's all about cognitive learning and things like that. So it's your brain working, but it's not your brain. It's code somewhere. So the basic one that you can do to do process automation. So you've got robotic process automation. We've had that for years, welding cars, doing things. It just emulates a process. We've got people doing quite smart stuff in the medical industry. It's kind of bringing in bots, but not chatbots. But, you can go through the internet and you can do an operation. You can use a specialist. You don't have to fly them out. A lot of medical, I remember in the 80s in Hewlett-Packard, they used to have a cardiograph that takes your pulse. And that thing used to look at the patterns even then. And it would give information, not just the graphs that says, yeah, you've died, because it's a straight line. That's pretty obvious. But if it saw certain patterns over a period of time, it kept its history and it built its history up. And it basically gave you recommendations and said, this is what they think this is wrong with this person. Or these are the things you need to look out of. That actually was very early artificial intelligence in the 80s. So it's like all things. They've happened for many years. Chatbots, so to unblock admin. So, you phone into a call center, you get 10 people or 100 people. They can only take so many calls. A chatbot can take thousands and direct them to the right people. So chatbots are quite common these days. I think if you go to our website, you even get assaulted by a very nice looking blonde lady. I'm not sure that we've worked out what it should look like from your preferences. But anyway, so the lady changes, but it's a lady. I'm sorry, it's not a guy. Internally, we've got a guy that we speak to fix things up. Online exchange routing phones, that's pretty basic. That's almost no intelligence. Reading documents for specifics, so that's kind of optical character recognition. It's about looking for patterns, which is what you have to understand is what these algorithms do, is they look for patterns in data. So a nice application is like looking at legal documents to see if there are any holes in the document that either cause an ambiguity or something, because, lawyers don't like ambiguity. They don't like the, are you going on holiday this year, yes or no? And the guy says, I can give you a definite maybe. That doesn't work. So algorithms are good at looking for patterns. And physical machine operation, and that can, you're going to get, with some other stuff, you're going to get to autonomous vehicles and all that. But this is the stuff that really deals in business we deal with more. is predict what a customer might buy. So insights. We've always talked about business intelligence. Well, we haven't always, but maybe for the last 15 years. Business intelligence is about looking at your data and getting insights. So, of course, everyone thought, well, we'll sell you business in a thing that gives you business insights. And everyone says, well, that's good. I'll buy that. But, if your data's crap, you're not going to get very good insights. It's like, I think it's like going to our friend Bushiri and looking for calm and religious comfort, because I'm quite sure that was a bit of a con. But if it works for you, it's fine. But it's probably not the most reliable place to go, or like betting a guy that you just meet in the street. Insights have to come from the right place. And a lot of business intelligence is based on very ropey spreadsheets with, Power BI in the front. Identify credit card fraud, quite big in the banks. They look for transactions and things that look unusual. So again, it's a pattern. Help insurers with accurate actuary. I don't think they care about accurate actuary. They just care about their shareholder returns, so we won't go down that route. But yes, I think there's a lot of applications for AI in insurance. You can see they're using IoT to get more data, because you don't just get data from your past transactions. You can get it from anywhere now. Suits, clothes, people, machines, little bits of... So if you've been pulled into we'll give you money back every month on your insurance because we're going to put this little device in your car that tells us how you drive. And then you go and have a couple of beers and you don't drive very well, or you get angry because the taxi cut you off and you don't drive very well. Eventually you find out that it actually puts your insurance premium up as well. It's not all about going down. So that application in the insurance industry has made their predictability of what it costs to insure you a lot better. So our insurance costs should be going down, and indeed I think it has been not going up as much as it used to. And during COVID, they even realized they better give us some money back or we're all going to complain. And then you get to engagement. So insights, this is kind of passive, it gives you it. Engagement is where it's two-way. So IT help desk automation, you go in and you say, my computer's broken. And it says, well, how's it broken? And it asks you a few questions and it's, okay, I understand what you're saying. The same with health treatment advice. There is some knowledge in there that you go through, you do your bit, and then it points you in the right direction. And then you can get you can go a long way down this route. So then there's retail, product or service recommendation with rich language and images. So it starts to listen to the way you're talking, identify what could be classed as emotional patterns, but again, programmed in by somebody who might not be that emotional, but emotional patterns that says this person, this lady, let's say, she's not interested in safety. She just wants a cool car that goes like a, off a shovel. And so all it starts showing you, and it says it and the pictures are not matter of fact like they might give me as an engineer. They're just beautiful. And you think, God, I've got to have one of these. You can do all that stuff with AI. So, I don't know if you can read at the bottom, but it brings, sorry, I'm just going to hide something because I can't even read my own slide. AI with ML brings prediction, confidence, anomaly detection, and computer vision. So the computer vision is the autonomous vehicle type of stuff. Lots of cameras to see what's happening. Anomaly detection is, oh shit, this rule or this pattern is being broken. I must do something about it. And I'm 99% sure I'm right, or I'm 20% sure. And it predicts based on the past and based on its learning. And those are the fundamental dimensions of AI. So machine learning is really it's like going to school. You don't learn much. You learn from your experiences. So machine learning, it looks for data containing patterns. And we could talk about that forever because that's that whole data science, data engineering. What patterns are you looking for? What is a pattern? Then you write an algorithm that says, okay, I found a pattern. What the hell do I do with it? So again, somebody's got to interpret. It still needs a hand, it still needs a coach. It's not doing it all on its own, but it's getting better and better all the time. And then it looks at a model, identifies pattern, predicts unseen data. It says you don't have enough data here, or it says, whoa, something's going to happen here that you don't want. And you put it into whatever application and it helps you. So it requests predictions from the model. So it's looking at data. It's getting more and more data. It sorts the data. It then inquires in the data depending on what you're asking it, or it works out the questions that you should be asking it. So it's pretty smart. It's a bit better than business analytics used to be or is. Still with me? Right. So if you're going to adopt it, and I'm going to have a cold coffee, you should learn that artificial intelligence is fueled by machine learning. I think you understand that. Putting a 4-year-old schoolboy, unless he's like Archimedes or Einstein, putting him in as managing director of ESCOM is probably not going to help us. It might do better, but it probably isn't going to help us much. You're better to send this person to school, give them some experience. That's machine learning. It's about enabling supportive insights. So the first thing you do with AI is you say, I need some help here from somebody that's got some intelligence, and it's not a person. It looks at facts and logics to provide better quality, more reliable insight. So business intelligence, as I said, if you put rubbish data in, you've always heard of it, rubbish in, rubbish out. If you don't give this thing decent data, like business analytics, you're going to get insights that are probably not correct. So being on top of your data is really paramount for this environment. Facts, but it can cleanse its own data. That's one of the good things about some of these algorithms. It can say, look, this stuff's rubbish, get rid of it. Or put a probability on it that is so low we'll never look at it again. Anyway, it's there to help but not replace human decision-making. But it will move you towards 2020 vision, I guess. What sort of things? Well, forecasting. If you're using a forecasting package, I dare say even in Excel, those algorithms are actually artificial intelligence. So forecasting, a proper, let me say, forecasting package has a different pile of algorithms for seasonality, bias. It works out a pile of statistics stuff, but typically trends, seasonality, relevance, and it also works. It takes the last 12 months or whatever, takes 11 months of those to predict last month, which is the 12th month, and it works out its forecast accuracy. So it's actually self-teaching itself in the background. It's pretty basic, but that is artificial intelligence. And it's been used for years, long time. Analytics and business analytics and business intelligence is really about prediction now. It's not about reporting. It worries me a lot that many companies we deal with, they think that business analytics and business intelligence should be used for every report you need. No, it shouldn't. I mean, if you want debtor's age analysis, run a standard report. Don't use your business analytics. If you want to know the probability that somebody's going to pay you, then there's maybe a reason for business analytics. And if you really want to get even, and that then would be a basic form of artificial intelligence. So they'd be looking at the data and it would be saying, you can imagine yourself, if you wrote the algorithm, well, how often does this guy pay on time? Do they pay the full amount? Has the check bounced? Whatever the story is, that can move you. So business analytics is basically, and you'll see people are always talking about predictive insights. We're a software company. We talk about it because that's what business analytics does. It moves you forward and it is definitely bringing in prediction. So it's trying to help you know what's going to happen. But it's really helping you in things that you've got a good idea about yourself already. So it's useful, it's more advanced, it's a backup, but it's not going to replace you. And you might not believe it. And why might not you believe it? Because the data is probably not as good as it should be. Second phase, so here we hit big data. So the first thing is, what is big data? Well, big data is not just lots of data. Big data can be small quantities. I've worked for 2 software companies. One's the current one. We don't deal with companies with thousands and thousands of users. We deal with hundreds of users, maybe. So the last place I worked for dealt with thousands and thousands of users. Guess who's got more data? The thousands and thousands of users. Does it mean it's any good for them? Well, it depends what you can do with it. So quantity isn't what big data is about. Yes, of course, it is a dimension because it's like we said earlier, the bigger the quantity, if you count for a long time, it's going to take you a long time. So computers and things and analytics can process data much quicker. So yes, typically it's about more data than you can handle yourself or put in a spreadsheet. But it's more about the breadth and depth of that data. And it was kind of getting to that Lay's chip example. Well, you know, you can find out the profitability of a Lay's chip in 38,000 whatever forecourt retail stations. Well, if that sort of winds you up, great, but it's got to be relevant. So you're looking at how you can get insights. You've got to look into the depth of it. You know, what region is this happening? Are there any other things? Causal analysis. So now you get to forecasting, a more advanced way of forecasting instead of univariate, which is just your history of sales or demand, is multivariate or linear, multiple linear regression. So it takes multiple different variables like the weather and things into account to try and give you a better result. Well, that's the sort of breadth and depth, but it's many, many more dimensions than that. And it also in AI will look for the breadth and depth. It will look for the things that are influencing the outcome. And it's sifting out irrelevant and focusing on what matters, which sometimes business and analytics doesn't do. So that's the big data thing. You can have nice data, but you don't have, you know, terabytes of it. But, you know, a few gigabytes of data, that's going to kill your brain because there's far too much. But big data is about breadth and depth, not just having lots of it. It's a big mistake people make. They think we've got big data. Well, big data enables you to get good insights. So it's the way you look through that data, and it's the data that you store. If you don't store the right data, it ain't going to be big data. It'll be lots of rubbish, okay? And the other thing that AI will do, it says, well, it says these are the influencers or influences, and I'm confident that these are the main ones. So believe it. So your second phase is, this thing's getting quite smart, maybe I should believe it. And it helps suggest and even make the best decisions, but you still have to decide or at least consider it. So it's like it's at the boardroom table, but it's not the only vote. And so you've got which profitable. You're looking at things like which channel's profitable. That's actually more difficult than you think. There's quite a lot of processing. Yeah, business analytics can do it. But what's profitable? It's growing, and we're making money, and the LSMs are changing. You know, profitable or valuable to business is not just to make profit. Remember, profit was just the first thing. Is it giving me competitive advantage? There's other dimensions of whether a channel's good or not. And so AI can help you get much more insight into that. Same with customers, products, suppliers. Market direction. What way is the market going? I remember the Gallup polls, and I'm nearly finished, by the way. I remember the Gallup polls in Britain. They were doing votes for the election. So it was a British election. We were watching a football match at Hampden Park. I can't remember who it was. It was probably an old firm game, Rangers and Celtic. But we were in a pub that had a lot of green jerseys or stripy green jerseys, which means Celtic. And we were Rangers supporters. And they were doing a Gallup poll about something in football. Now, in that pub, 90% of the people were Celtic supporters. The answer was Celtic. What's the question? So, you know, market direction is often driven by asking, and I think that's what's been happening in the elections in America and all over the world. You only focus on the things that do you good. You don't look at the bad. So market direction with AI, you can really do a lot better, and opportunities in the market. So now, what's the probable future? Well, reliable decisions without humans are obviously what people want. You know, you watch half of these movies that were probably written in the 70s, 80s, and 90s about, you know, to boldly go to new civilizations and do all sorts of strange things with them. You know, there's a lot of creative thinking that will be absolutely normal. And I think the creative thinking now, the transformer type of stuff, well, fine. Very entertaining, but I think if you look back at Avatar and some of these old movies, there's a lot of predictions in there that are really going to become almost reality, I guess. So reliable decisions where you can rely on a human, you know, all these robots that people have had through decades in movies, that's, you know, you're going to have an assistant probably not walking around with you, but your phone. Should I take this bet or shouldn't I? Should I make this? Yes, you should. No, you shouldn't, you know. So there's going to be a huge reliance on some of that technology and a huge ability for people to hack it, I think, as well. But then you'll go down the whole blockchain thing, and we're not going to talk about that, but that's supposed to be the way to prevent hacking. But anyway, that's another talk for somebody else. Huge analysis in the background, seeking additional data and confirmation. So I don't have enough data. I need this stuff. Can you give me it? It's going to ask, like, you ask your father, Dad, what shoes should I wear today? We're going hiking. And he says, well, wear your hiking shoes. You know, this isn't a good example, but you know, I mean, you ask your dad and he says, you say, what should I wear to go hiking? And he says, oh, a waterproof. So you walk in bare feet, you know, that type of thing. It needs to seek where it can't be confident, and it knows you want it to be confident. It needs to seek more data. So it's going to interact with you like a human, making major business decisions in nanoseconds. Like I say, you ask the phone and it gives you an answer. I don't think I want to be a bookie in the future, I can tell you, certainly with horses. I mean, we've one of our technical guy, Kevin here, our main technical innovation guy, he created a thing for the European Football League, an artificial intelligence engine, and so far nobody's beaten it yet here. It's still winning. It's got the highest, scores if you get one for being right and two for being one for being right, and it's a draw or whatever. It's miles ahead of everyone else, and he just wrote it, so it's quite useful. And drive aspects of business and life without the need for humans. So, of course, we're going to get share trading. So, I mean, on the share market, they're already doing that. I think there's tons of it there. Traffic management, not in South Africa, but in the rest of the world. Autonomous everything and supply chain optimization. Autonomous vehicles, we've all seen the beer trucks going down with no driver, the little things in Dubai, flying people, what do you call them? Anyway, flying people, the taxi flying, all sorts of things. So autonomous everything because of the photo side of it, this recognition, computer vision. So you're going to have autonomous everything. So we should be starting to look at different jobs. Of course, we're going to look at different jobs, but is a data scientist any different to what an engineer was? And finally, if you've got an ERP system, because that's really, in the end of the day, the most basic supply chain tool most of us have. If you've got an ERP system, what are you going to look at? So in CISPRO, we've put in, you can pull it off the web. If you put CISPRO in AI, you'll probably get it. That's how I got the thing. And you'll see this picture. And we have already, and I think many software companies have done this, they've put artificial intelligence engines in that you can do some quite cool stuff with, like the likelihood of late deliveries. I mean, we all can understand that, Fred blogs, he's always 3 weeks late. But why don't you change your lead time to 5 weeks instead of 2 weeks in your MRP system? Because then your MRP system is going to be wrong. So artificial intelligence, to me, is taking some of the things written around this diagram and making them work properly and do the nasty stuff that nobody likes doing. MRP, Material Requirements Planning, around since the late 60s. SAPIX, we used to call it the MRP Self-Preservation Society. But actually, ERP came around actually by SAP. I think they called it that the first time, and it added some business dimensions to it other than just factories and materials. But, you still require a person who can plan well to do that job. You put somebody who can't plan and give them MRP, it's a disaster. So you still need an intelligent human being. Why on earth aren't we building into our MRP system if we know the guy's going to be late, changes lead time? If the final job costs from historic performance are bad, why do we still use the same costing? Change it. Don't ask someone, just change it. Cost analysis, cash flow. I mean, accountants spend ages looking at cash flow because it's critical. And through COVID, it's been really critical. So regression analysis, or regressive analysis for default likelihood on credit. Again, we've all got our favorites, but we probably miss, when you get big and you got thousands, we've got some customers in the medical business who have got millions, because it's people like you and me. They've got millions of debtors. They've got 150 people trying to work out whether the medical aid owes money or the principal member of the medical owns it or the person himself owns it. 150 people just trying to work out who actually owes them money. come on, there's a lot better. We'll get there soon as well. And sales orders, I'm not sure what a contextual recommendation engine is. It sounds like a product configurator. But that basically is my story. I didn't leave you long if you want to ask any questions. But that basically is what I thought for a SAPIX audience you could hear about artificial intelligence. It's a lovely book, HBR's 10 must-reads on AI, analytics, and the new machine age. It's got lots of things in it, from using drones to 3D printing. It's wonderful. It's a great book to read. I wouldn't say you're going to be popular reading it at bedtime, but it's very short, and it's, as always, Harvard Business Review articles, very good. Anyway, if there are any questions, I don't know, Ken, what do I do? That's me. Thanks for listening, if you did.
Can you hear me, Doug? Yeah, we've got a few questions. Yeah, and mainly from Warren, actually. We've got 3 here. The first one is, how do I know?
Warren Buffett, eh?
No, it's Warren Bennett. You were close.
Okay.
How do I know when 100% certainty when to use machine learning? Often I'm in doubt because I may get the same solution with traditional research methods such as linear regression to predict.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Yes, you're right. For those of us who are starting out in this journey, you know, some of the industries with money, like the banks and I'd just say governments as well, they can invest. Traditional, it is the same. It's about being on top of your data. So the traditional research methods are a good way of getting to the prediction. Because if you remember, it's this prediction with relevance. So you research, yeah, that's a good way to pump things full of information or knowledge. So getting knowledge in has always been the issue. Where does it start? It's easy if you've got a transactional-based system like an ERP system to predict lots of stuff because you'll get transactions. But where do you change? I don't know. Traditional research is also pretty good at crunching numbers, and I'm pretty sure there's a bit of AI in there too. It's all algorithmic. We're maybe talking about the same thing, I think. But I would say that traditional research is maybe starting to use AI as well and machine learning to come up with more reliable results. That's my answer to that one, I think.
Warren also goes on to ask, what degree of technical expertise does one require to use machine learning?
So to apply it in an ERP system, which I could talk about, is, I mean, not many of our customers are doing it. We're all trying to push some of them to do it. Yeah, we need to give some help. We would do some normal consulting. But, you know, it's like business analytics. If you promise in business analytics happiness, so one of my colleagues says, you cannot promise people happiness, because what is happiness? You know, business analytics, some people go absolutely ballistic. Others say, I want these 5 really key reports and the board will look at them and nobody else touches this. You know, so I think I'm losing the plot in the question. So just repeat the question, because I was going out of my, it's an age thing. Or
the question was, what degree of technical expertise does one require?
So you don't really need it. Yeah, you don't really need it to put it into your software system, but you need people who can make the algorithms up for you. So you have basic algorithmic type engines that you feed with relationships. And so really it's still a business discussion with business people. So that's why I say you can get the knowledge from business people, but the techies are the ones that then probably write these repeatable bits of software that then you can fuel with information. And it's a bit like putting data into your ERP system, a little more complicated. If you want to write the algorithms, you need to go to a different university to the one I went, that's for sure. Okay. It's very technical.
Lastly, can it predict relationships between variables that I may not know about?
So now we should speak for half an hour and I've got 30 seconds. So
yeah, you've got minus 30 seconds actually.
Okay, so yes. Go to a table and I'll talk to you. Yes is the answer, and I don't know that it's being answered properly by the technology yet, but that is what you want. You want it to predict things that you never thought about. You want it to ask questions you never thought about. Then it really creates value. Easy answer. Long discussion.
All right, Doug, thanks very much for your contribution this afternoon.
I escape and go to a table if anyone wants to talk to me or not.
Yes, you should have a table somewhere or a room where people can come and talk to you. But I would also like people just to go over to the poll and just score your presentation before they leave. And we've now got half an hour as a networking and lunch break. And coming back at
Can I have the
1:30.
filet de boeuf? Can I have the filet de boeuf with shots of white wine sauce and a glass of good red, please?
Yeah, but you've got to go and get that from your kitchen, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I've got it. It's on my desk. Well, thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay.
I don't know. How do I know if anyone wants to talk to me? Do I just...
I think they can come to your table or whatever. And
tell me where I go. Do I leave the presentation and go? How do I get to table? Sorry, I know my pen.
Yeah.
Please all go.
Elaine, can you help? Can you help with that? Are you there?
Tell me
Elaine?
again.
I'm sorry, my mic was off. If you go on leave on the left-hand side of your screen and then go onto the floor.
Oh, there it is, floor. Sorry.
Yes.